4 minutes until showtime. 3 minutes until showtime. 2 minutes until showtime. 1 minute until showtime. 'Your show will go live in 5 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1.
One of the biggest advantages that conservatives have is their media presence. Conservatives have a wealth of radio talk shows, podcasts, and YouTube channels that allow them to effectively spread their message. We should have the same on the left as well. This is why I want you to go to growleft.liberaldan.com. We are at a turning point in the history of this country. There is no reason why the ultra-conservatives and MAGA types should be as successful as they have been. Extremist conservative ideas are unpopular, while left-wing ideas like Medicare for all, abortion rights, and marriage equality are at all-time highs. But they have the messaging, and we need to build up our radio shows, podcasts, and YouTube channels to fight back against their extremist conservative messages. Liberal Dan Radio has partnered with Levelfield to help us use tools that are typically only available to big money donors. When you give a contribution at growleft.liberaldan.com, you will be doing two things. That money will be spent advertising causes on the left, like body autonomy, marriage equality, voting rights, and in support of or opposition of candidates. And that commercial airtime will be spent on smaller shows, podcasts, and YouTube channels to help them grow larger and be more successful. We get to kill two birds with one stone, but I can't do it alone. I need your help. So please go to growleft.liberaldan.com and make your contribution today. That's growleft.liberaldan.com. growleft.liberaldan.com. Political advertising paid for by Levelfield. Contributions are not tax deductible as charitable contributions.
Code 914-803-4131. That's 914-803-4131. Just leave a message in the chat and let me know what area code you're calling from so I can make sure you're a legit caller and not someone who's going to be a pain in my ass. If you want to support the show, you can do so by becoming a Liberal Dan Radio patron, patreon.com/LiberalDan or patreon.liberaldan.com. Both will get you there if that's a monthly subscription to the show to help out the show. If you could only help me once, you could also Venmo me at Liberal Dan Radio on Venmo, I think it is, or is it at Liberal Dan on Venmo? Anyway, the code's up there on the screen if you want to do that. Or you can also buy me a cider by going to liberaldan.com and clicking the buy me a cider button, or just go to buymeacoffee.com/liberaldanradio and do that as well. So let's see what to talk about. It's been it's almost like the Bare Naked Lady songs. It's been 2 weeks since I talked to you, or the title of the show, the Hamilton reference. What did I miss? What did I miss? Hopefully, I don't get a ding for that because I once somebody got a copyright infringement or whatever flag because they used the Mission Impossible theme song, but the only way they did it is they did it with like they're going to bump 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 like that, like they just did it with their mouths and they didn't have any music playing underneath them, and they tried to do a copyright thing on them. So that just goes to show why I think that some of the rules here on YouTube when it comes to copyright infringement are a little too lenient to the people who are making claims, and there should be some sort of verification process in place so that people aren't making ridiculous claims, or if you make too many ridiculous claims, you just don't get listened to. So anyway, interesting thing happened to me today. I was having some technical difficulties right before the show where my my video capture device hooked in through my camera. It goes through a software called XSplit, which gives me like a virtual green screen. I could load this picture back of it. As you can see, my hands disappearing because the virtual green screen is going into the camera, or no, the microphone, I'm sorry. And I left my other mouse downstairs with my work computer. I'll say why I'm working downstairs in a second, if you don't already know. But the other thing is that I plugged in a different mouse. And so when I plugged in my mouse downstairs earlier today, it was telling me on my work computer that there was an error with my mouse and it wasn't recognized. Like, that's kind of weird. Okay. So then I plugged in this other mouse, a completely different mouse, to a completely different laptop today, and I got the same error message on a different laptop with a different mouse. I guess let me know, is anybody else having mouse problems today? Is this like a common thing? Have some weird cyber terrorist group managed to disable external mouses from people's keyboards? I don't know. My regular mouse, the touchpad, seems to work okay, which is why I'm able to navigate and do things like, hit buttons like this.
It is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. But it's just very bizarre. And the reason that I've been working downstairs instead of upstairs, where I have a nice, 2 monitor setup plus my laptop, and is because I finally got Blanche. My new puppy dog is here, and that's what she pretty much looks like. She's a little bigger now. I guess she's up to 12 pounds now, but we picked her up on Sunday, and she is just as cute as she is in that picture, and she's very fluffy. She's very playful. Anyway, so we're having a very good time. The boys are enjoying playing with her as well. And it's a bit of a bittersweet week, because if you don't know this, while we were away on vacation, one of our cats died, and it was like the next to last day of vacation. Like, she was sick. My mother-in-law was taking care of her. She took her to the vet. I don't think they did enough to take care of her and to see what the heck was wrong with her. But yeah, she passed away, and it was my youngest's, like, the youngest one and this one and this cat were just inseparable. Like, they would love on each other all the time, and she didn't love on anybody else. She just loved on him, and he was heartbroken. We were heartbroken for him and for the fact that we lost it. They're only a year and a half. The kitties are only a year and a half old. We still have the other 2. We don't know if she got into something or if there was just something wrong with her. But yeah, it hasn't been a great week for that. But fortunately, I think with the dog being able to play, them playing with the puppy and running around the yard with the puppy, I think it's kind of helped maybe take his mind off of it, and maybe take a lot of our minds off of it. Although when we saw her snuggling with my youngest as the cat would, we both just kind of teared up as well. So it's going to be a rough go, especially when the Facebook memories come up. But it's always hard to lose a fur baby, especially when we didn't expect it at all. It was like Tuesday, Sunday I can't find Agnes. Tuesday I found her, but she's sick and she's puking, and then Thursday we got the call, and it was just very, very frustrating. So shouts out to Aaron, Jolie, the Mod Squad, Patty Whack, Jeff Curry, Elizabeth, Crimson, Patty Whack, Chuck John, all the people in chat currently have said hello. If I missed anybody, I'm sorry. Thank you all for joining. Again, it's not gonna let that one loss, trying to kind of, ruin everything, or, it's just, she was a good cat who loved her brother, and who, I guess she had a very good life for the year and a half that she did. So, and I don't know, I did break down the other day when I had to talk to the remains people to dealing with the remains or whatever. So I was just like, okay. Managed to stay composed during the call, but afterwards I was just bawling and just anyway. So, but our new pup is healthy. I mean, she does have a running. She had a leg problem because she was the only child, and she got swimmer's pup or whatever. I think I talked about this the last show, maybe. And she was like very, very weak rear legs, and so we had to kind of work. They were working on them, and she's pretty much good at the moment. Like, she runs no problem in the backyard, chasing the boys or whatever. Sometimes on the slidey floor, the laminate floor, the flooring or whatever, the wood floor, she'll be a little slippery or whatever, and she'll just slide down instead of just laying down, and her feet will just kind of go out like that. So still a little bit of work to do with her, but she's making great progress on that. And because of that, we actually wound up getting her cheaper than we would have had we gone through a foster agency. And I haven't given up looking on it yet. I did ask one of my friends who is a gun owner about what the processes of the forms you have to fill out, at least federally, to try and obtain a handgun. and she was like, don't she didn't want to help me be, she's more conservative, she didn't want to help give me material, I guess, for my podcast, so I'll just have to look up the materials myself. But it did seem to me, from the little that she said about the process and the forms you have to fill out for the federal government in order to be able to have a firearm, to get a pistol or whatever, it does seem like the paperwork is less than the paperwork that the crazy foster folks were requiring. So it seems like, there were that. Even the vet today was like, some of these people who run these foster things are absolutely nutball crazy, and you just can't deal with them, and you just have to give them away or whatever. Hey, Siha, how's it going? Thank you for joining us in the chat. Jeff Curry, my girl just got a really sweet American bully puppy. She has turned into a 100-pound lap dog. I'm fairly certain that this one is going to become a lap dog as well, because she is just very cuddly. She was very spoiled. She was the only one in her litter. So she's just going to be a very spoiled pup indeed. Hey, Julie, first Liberal Dan Radio producer at the Patreon level. Julie is joining us in the chat. Shouts out to you. Shouts out to all of the other Liberal Dan Radio patrons as well. Wes, Jolie, Aaron, your boy Chris, Cesar, and Demonox, the first Liberal Dan Radio patron. Appreciate your support as always. And of course, always we have others who also have bought me ciders as well, or Venmo me or what have you. So try and bring this back open. I was trying to, I don't know. This is, I don't want to, don't cancel. Yeah, I don't want to open that again. So I'm not used to my touchpad on my thing. The reason I got another mouse was because the touchpad was kind of to begin with, and now of course I have to use it because for some reason both of my laptops don't want to recognize two different mouses. It's bizarre. Also, if you don't know, nerdydan.com as well. It's my other main site that I'm doing. I do Tuesdays and Thursday nights. I do gaming, streaming gamings. I've been streaming Fortnite. Last night I streamed Fortnite and the new Disney game, Disney Dreamlight Valley. Sometimes I'll do Cult of the Lamb and other games as I feel like I want to play. I've changed that schedule. Instead of I used to go 8 till whatever for the first at least few weeks or maybe a couple months with my new pup. I will be doing it at 10 p.m. Central instead of 8 p.m. Central because I want to make sure that the pup is fed and I take her outside, make sure she does everything before putting her to bed for the night. So again, I've been wanting the puppy for a while now, so I don't want to put too much of a burden on the rest of my family, even though the rest of my family is going to enjoy spending time with the puppy. It was my idea to get the puppy, so I need to make sure to take care of the puppy. Blanche will be well loved and well taken care of. I will show maybe after I take one break, I'll go ahead and load up another picture. I just have to download it from Facebook and add it to an image or whatever. I did show the older picture of her just, being cute and being held like that. But again, she's a little bigger, but there's not much difference to that. Anyway, so she is a very, very sweet baby. So let's go ahead. We'll take the first commercial break now so I can take a little bit of a drink. Not alcohol, of course, but I want to be able to take moist, make my throat more moist so I don't start coughing fits or whatever. I'm coming back answering your questions in chat as well. Or you can call in, just leave a message in chat, 914-803-4131. It's 914-803-4131. This is Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.
Are you planning a trip to Disney soon? Do you want help avoiding spending mistakes and making the most of your vacation? Then check out BudgetEars.com, a new site devoted to helping you get the most mouse for your money. What kinds of tickets should you get? Is the dining plan a good deal for you? Should you stay on grounds or not? Should you buy park hoppers? Many other sites are filled with information about what other people like to do, but BudgetEars is geared to help you make the best decision for you. So check out BudgetEars.com or go to YouTube.com/BudgetEars and help make your trip the best it can be. BudgetEars.com is not a travel agency and it is not affiliated with the Disney Corporation or any of its holdings. In a world gone mad, one progressive will do a bad movie trailer guy impression to get you to listen to his show. There's only one thing that I like better than the Liberal Dan Radio minicast. Alright, Bill, that's enough of that. On the Liberal Dan Radio minicast, you will hear an honest discussion of the day's issues, with some personal bits in between. You might even hear what the other side has to say, sometimes even in their own voices. So become one of the Liberal Dan family, because family means no one gets left behind or forgotten. To hear those bad impressions and more, tune into the Liberal Dan Radio minicast. Talk from the left, that's right. And I think to myself, what a wonderful show. Yeah. If you enjoy Liberal Dan Radio, there's many ways that you can support the show. You can subscribe to the YouTube channel. You can like me on Facebook or follow me on Twitter or TikTok. And you can become a Liberal Dan Patreon. For as little as $3 a month, you can get a shout out. Higher levels get the opportunity to vote on what I do next on the podcast, the minicast, or on YouTube. You can even buy commercial advertising or sponsor bits. So go to patreon.liberaldan.com and support the show today.
Hey there, podcast listeners. This is Demonox, host of The World According to Nox. It's time for Season 2, where I take you on another trip through my world. The world of movies, video games, pop culture, and more. Relate them to the world around you. Don't forget to leave a question for Marscat, and find me on Twitter by the handle XDemonox. That's the letter X like X-Men, DEMINOX. Now enjoy the rest of your podcast.
And welcome back to Liberal Dan Radio, Talk from the Left, that's right. This is your host, Dan Zimmerman, coming at you from New Orleans, Louisiana. And here is my puppy. So there is I'll play the short little video of her running around the yard. The yard's a little bit of a mess at the moment. Need to clean up, need to take that out to the front when the trash day comes. But there she is with her little stick, running around. And you can't really notice any real problems with her back legs, but you know, she's maybe a little bit wider than maybe normal, and a little bit of stumble right there. But yeah, there we go. There is Blanche. So there you go. You get to see Blanche running around, and she's very cute and such. See, hey, Nearly Impossible, thank you for joining as well. Appreciate you. Hugs back at you. Jeff Curry, holy crap, I just got a text from some number, said she's a lady, asked me to go to the bank and act as her husband and get a wire transfer of her huge inheritance that she has. I better get on that. You absolutely better get on that. You know, I mean, who could turn that down, right? I mean, all that money that she has in her inheritance, and you have to pretend to be the husband. I mean, do you get all the other benefits of pretending to be your husband, or just the stand-in so that she can get the money? Probably neither. Probably, again, just a scam. You know, we all know that. I'm sure you do too. I love getting those texts, though. I love getting those the scammy texts, and I love getting the scammy calls. Like I had before I went on vacation, I did have somebody call me, and they were wanting to, I think I might have talked about this the last show. I don't know when it happened, but I got the call, and they were wanting, again, something from, wanted to allow me to improve the APR, I guess, on my credit card that had a high balance. And so I'm like, well, which credit card? It doesn't matter. Well, which one are you talking about? You're clearly talking about one. He was like, the Bank of America Visa or whatever they said, or whatever bank Visa. It's like, no, I have that bank MasterCard. I don't have, oh, well, that's the one I'm talking about. Yes, I misspoke or whatever. And I was like, well, can you, I want to be sure that this is the right one. I was like, I'm not very smart. I'm not a very smart person. I don't think I could understand this. I need you to hand hold me. And I think the guy figured that he had a, had a winner that he was able to get it, so he transferred it to his manager. But his manager was like, hello, my name is Seth Rollins. I am the manager here. I'm like, wow, you're Seth Rollins? That's awesome. There's a wrestler named Seth Rollins too. And he laughed. And then I was like, are you married to Becky? Which is his wife in real life. And then they hung up on me because they realized that I wasn't going to fall for the crap. So you're a Saudi prince, huh? Nice. Hope you're not one of the bad ones. Not one responsible for the death of the journalist. Anyway, so all the stuff that's going on. Today you have Donald Trump being deposed because I guess he can't be deposed civilly whilst he's in office, but after in office he's can be held financially responsible for the things that he said while president. And we'll see whether or not he pleads the Fifth.
If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
And that's, of course, what Donald Trump says. If he pleads the Fifth in this particular case, in this civil case, then he's clearly not innocent of what he's being alleged to have done.
If you're innocent, why are you taking the Fifth Amendment?
Yeah. So, but apparently, you can't plead the Fifth unless you are, whatever you say might open you to criminal charges. I don't know if the criminal charges of what he's alleged to have done to her would, to the victim would still, I don't know if the statute of limitations has run out or not. I haven't looked that up. But if it has, then there wouldn't be any reason that he could plead the Fifth, and he would basically be in contempt of court if he refused to answer. But, it's Trump, and he is Trump, and
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. So, see, I'm a Princess Patty. I'm a Martian princess. I'm from Uranus. Thank you. See, Trump flies by the seat of his depends. Yes, that is very true. And sometimes they kind of show in his pants. He needs to wear different pants sometimes because clearly he's already full of shit as it is. He needs to have a bigger set of depends to kind of keep it all in. We got Tulsi Gabbard. Tulsi Gabbard has said, I'm not going to be a Democrat anymore. Were you ever a Democrat in the first place? Really? Seriously? No. Nobody believed that you were an actual Democrat to begin with. So that you're leaving the party is just basically confirming you are who we all knew you to be. Which is a Republican shill and a Russian stooge. Speaking of Russian stooges, Congressman McCarthy, the person who would likely be House Majority Leader if the Republicans manage to, or Speaker of the House, I'm sorry, if the Republicans managed to take back the House of Representatives, said that there would not be a blank check for Ukraine. What does that mean? Does that mean that they would want to watch certain things, or are they basically going to just admit that they are who we all know they are, is that they're all stooges for Putin and Russia? Because Trump is a stooge of Putin and Russia, and they're all stooges of Trump. And as such, according to the, I always forget the name of it. Is it transitive? According to the transitive property of mathematics, if you're a stooge of Putin, if you're a stooge of Trump, and Trump is a stooge of Putin, then you're a stooge of Putin by default. Let's see. Did I have that right? Did I have it right? Transitive property. Yes, I think I had that right. If X, Y, and Z, if X equals Y equals Z, then X equals Z. Hey, I remembered my math. There you go. So, now Come on, close that stupid mouse. I hate this mouse. I hate this touchpad. It's terrible. This computer has this laptop that I bought has two things wrong with it. One of which I should have realized was a problem, and the other one I couldn't have. The one I couldn't have is I couldn't have realized how annoying this touchpad would be. The other thing is that for some reason, like, you know how we have a laptop camera and your camera is normally like at the top, right in the middle, like right up here? Yeah, no, mine's at the bottom of the screen. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. It doesn't do me any good. Like, if I were to switch the camera here, you'd get like a shot of like from here to here. Like, you'd get this much of my torso and maybe some of my chin. Like, it's not a good camera at all. Fortunately, usually laptop cameras aren't the greatest anyway, so I just use my regular webcam, and that's mounted even higher than the top of my laptop screen. So yeah. But just, like, I don't understand this. You know, used to be, like, I remember when everybody raised a big stink over Obama and his live mic moment when he said that after the election he would be more able to deal with Russia. I guess he would be more free to deal with Russia because he wouldn't have the election looming over him, and he said this over a hot mic, and so and all the Republicans were like, oh, he's going to do Russia's bidding, blah, blah, blah. But now that you have Trump, and Trump is bent over forwards and backwards for Putin during Trump's first term in office, and you have all of these people who are like, well, we're not going to be a blank check for Ukraine, or why are we spending this money in Ukraine when we could be spending it on other things, like as if they would want to spend money on anything other than the military-industrial complex, the border security, because I put it in quotes because they're not secure. Like what Trump did when he was president was he went after the low-hanging fruit, the people who were here, who were working jobs and acting peacefully, and just ignoring all of the funneling drugs that were coming into the country. Biden is doing a great job of stopping all of these drugs from coming to the country, and they're complaining about it, which makes me think that they're fundraising off of drug sales. So yes, Paddywhack, you're correct. The only term in office. First and only term in office. Although, if everybody, all the conservatives who love Trump, if they really believe that he was elected in 2020, then they can't vote for him again, right? Because you only can be elected to 2 terms. And if they believe he was elected for the second term, then he can't serve. He can't serve in 2024, right? Of course, that leaves us with people like DeSantis.
90 seconds.
What? No. Why is it 90 seconds? That's not correct. That's buggy. So we're going to increase the time that's available because it said I had a minute left or an hour left, and it's told me I have a minute left. So that's not good at all. So we've changed it now. Hopefully, we're still going to end in about a half an hour or so, but for whatever reason, it was not wanting to give me the full 30 minutes. If for some reason it logs me off of Blog Talk Radio, I'll still stay on YouTube. I just won't be able to do sounds. Anyway, so what was I saying? Oh yeah, DeSantis in Florida. That's where I vacationed, in Florida. And who knew DeSantis was such a socialist, such a green energy freak? Why do I say this? Well, I can't tell you how many solar farms they have in Florida. You know, that dreaded green energy that, you know, they all hate. Can't have green energy. Oh no. I passed by at least 3 huge solar farms in my travels that I could see. That, you know, a lot of my travel was done, you know, when it was dark out, so I couldn't see solar farms at night because not very well lit, you know, at any time. But while driving home on Sunday, I did see 2 coming back west on I-10. And then there's also the one at Disney. Now, I'm not going to give DeSantis credit for the one at Disney, and I don't think he should get credit for anything because Republicans are just bashing green energy left to right. But that's the hypocrisy of being a conservative, or hypocrisy is a conservative prerequisite, as the host of the most, Nimbus Yosh, should be saying, or loves to say. And, well, hopefully there has been something that happened that will light a fire under Yosh's ass and get him to put out the next episode of the Percy podcast. So it'll probably be bitching about something that I might bitch about for a little bit towards the end of the show as well. Because I'm done giving any F's about this other person who I've talked about vaguely before, but I don't give a crap anymore. I've done playing nice, but we'll talk about that towards the end. So anyway, I don't want to give DeSantis any credit for any of it, but you're gonna sit here and you're gonna bash not going after drilling, drill baby drill, and all that other crap that they want to talk about, yet they have solar farms. It's just like the hypocrisy that Biden talked about today. Yeah, as Crimson said, but Biden talked about I got Tinder hot XYZ adult dating site. I'm sure our lovely mods will take care of the spam. But hey, that means I'm making it, right? Because I got spam bots coming into the chat, right? I mean, there you go. Thank you, Jolie. Wow. Don't go to those sites. Anyway, so yeah, Biden today said, pointed out the people. He pointed out the people calling on by name on certain things, but he also was talking more generally today about the people who say, I voted against all of these bills and I voted against all these money, but then they send back office channel memos. Hey, can you please get us some of that money? It would really help my district. So they will argue at it till they're blue in the face, against it till they're blue in the face, and then still beg for the money anyway. Stony Bake, hey, by the way, that's not the best dating site. I wouldn't know if that's the best dating site or not, but I'll take your word for it that it's not. I hope you haven't used it. It probably put lots of viruses on your computer and potentially in your body if you happen to meet anybody from that site. Oh my. Anyway, so what was I saying about the hypocrisy? Oh yeah. So just David Vitter, former Louisiana senator, ran for governor, lost for governor, but somehow managed to win the Senate race after he was caught stripping hookers. Look, I don't begrudge people who want to strip hookers as long as it's a consensual relationship. Everybody's 18 or above. Everybody's, I have no problem with it. I mean, what do you think Trump's marriages have been? Do you think they're because there was a deep love between the two? No, it's Donald Trump's getting sex because he has lots of money, and it's just legal because there's a marriage contract behind it. But don't tell me Melania's in it for the love, right? Hey, TV2 Live, thank you for joining. Appreciate you. Hey, I am Jolly. Anyway, so, but the hypocrisy of David Vitter is that he said that anybody who gets caught cheating on his spouse, or cheating on their spouse, I should say, because I guess it would technically count if a woman was caught cheating, or a non-binary other person was, somebody caught cheating on their significant other or spouse or what have you. He said that they should resign, but he was caught. He admitted to his serious sins with the hookers in the Canal Street brothel. Or somewhere else, one of the brothels, I don't know. Maybe it was, I think he denied some of those New Orleans stories, said that they weren't true, like him wearing diapers. Again, if that's his kink, no problem. You want to wear diapers? I ain't gonna, as Hal says, I'm not gonna yuck your yum as long as everybody consents. What I will yuck, however, is your hypocrisy when you try and use government to tell people to act one way and then turn around and fail to act the way that you want other people to act. Yeah, I'm gonna call you out on it. Not because I don't think you should be doing it, but because you're a hypocrite for doing so. So maybe the marriage to Ivana was for love. Okay, it's possible. I will possibly give that one maybe. I don't know if anybody could really love Donald Trump. I question as to whether or not anybody could really love Donald Trump. I also question as to whether or not Donald Trump could really love anybody else other than himself. And the poorly educated. He did profess his love for the poorly educated. I will give him that. He did say that, but I loved when he lost the election, but I don't love him, not at all. It's all about power, money. Yeah, agree. I don't condone hookers, but I may be a little jealous that you can't make money. Well, I mean, there are the people who are online who bash people with OnlyFans, and I'm like, look, if you have an OnlyFans, again, more power to you. You know, as long as you're not advocating for other people and not have them, then I'm not going to buy it. As long as everybody consents, again, no problem. Liberal Dan Radio is very sex positive. I still want to do the show. I have a person in mind. I know Yosh wants to do it too, because Yosh apparently has taken lots of courses in human sexual development, sexual health, etc. And he's also interested in the show or whatever. But I have somebody else who's also very good source to be able to discuss issues of human sexuality and stuff like that. I just want to call the show Sex with Liberal Dan, so I can have the show called Sex with Liberal Dan. So, anyway, back to the matter at hand, which is the hypocrisy of Republicans. And David Vitter, he bragged about how he voted against, I think it was Obama's bill, some big bill that he claimed to vote against. I voted against this pork-laden bill. But what did he do before voting against the bill? He voted to include pork for Louisiana's 1st Congressional District. Or, I guess, the state of Louisiana at that point. Whoever, I don't know if he was in Congress or in the Senate at the time, because he did represent the 1st Congressional District before he was in the Senate. But yeah, he voted against the bill, but he voted for the pork that he wanted in the bill. I'm like, you shouldn't be able to have it both ways. If you vote against a bill, nothing that you vote to put in the bill should be able to be allowed in the bill. If you sponsor something to go in the bill, you should not be able to. You should not be able to do that. Again, I don't know how you would implement that. I don't know how you would make sure that takes place. I don't know how you would enforce that. But again, you shouldn't get to play both sides. You should have to stick to your convictions, or because voters aren't going to let you, because these voters are going to sit here, and I'm not going to say that there are people on the left who are not guilty of this as well. I'm sure that there are, but you shouldn't be able to have your cake and eat it too. If you want to be against this legislation, you should be against the legislation. Period. End of story. If you want something that's included in the legislation to pass, you should be required to vote for it, or else you don't get the help. Period. Let's see. I'm confused. Who has blocked who? What? I don't know. I'm missing a whole bunch of stuff that's going on. Republicans have voted against the Build Back Better plan, have all had their hands on. Yes, absolutely, that they do. And it's like, I remember President Obama had talked about the shovel-ready jobs for his economic stimulus plan or what have you. And all of these Congress or governors were berating Obama, Alabama, Mississippi, whatever, for that they weren't shovel-ready, that it's pork spending, that it's irresponsible. But then I'm driving through these states, either going to visit my parents back in Maryland, or maybe going to Disney, passing through, this was a trip to Maryland, but passing through Mississippi and Alabama, I see these signs touting the fact that they have these there's people with shovels on the picture saying, we're getting all this work paid for, and we're doing this. And how did they pay for it? Because Obama got this bill passed. They got them to have the money. And this is the thing, is that Biden, as he'd said, he's like, look, there are people in this country who live in districts where their congresspeople voted against the bill and are now begging for handouts. But Biden is not vindictive or petty. Biden promised that he would be a president for everybody, and he's not going to let the people of the districts go without just because their congressmen are hypocrites. Now, this won't win him any favors with these people, or at least with many of these people. Most of them will still deride him and be against him and shout, "Let's go, Brandon," or just go ahead and shout the full-on curse that, you know, that they think, I think they said it at the Phillies game or the Eagles game, whatever. But they don't care because they don't care about being consistent. They don't care if their views are hypocritical. That's why they vote for somebody or support somebody like Herschel Walker, who is credibly alleged to have paid for somebody's abortion whilst now running for office as somebody who wants to ban abortion. He supports a full-on ban on abortion, period, as do many of these folks. And I think to one Republican who was speaking out, who said, "Look, I voted for this bill because I thought it was the best bill that we could have," and then he realized who got harmed with it, and he's like, "We made a mistake, and we need to go back and fix it." Now, the mistake was passing it in the first place, but that's like maybe the only person I've ever seen who's a Republican who says, "You know what? This bill was a mistake, and we need to do something about it because we're harming people who are never going to give birth because they have health issues." And at least that one person recognizes, but that person is alone on an island, and no one else in his party is at all like that. They will continue to support these extremist bans on abortion. They will continue to run on this. And this is the thing that baffles me the most, is you had a bunch of people who were angry, and rightly so, that Roe was overturned with Dobbs v. Jackson. You had a bunch of people angry about that. And it's why Kansas came out and squashed the bill, squashed the constitutional amendment. So therefore, you still maintained that, according to the Supreme Court ruling of the state of Kansas, that you still have a right to an abortion in the state of Kansas, because the people came out en masse and rejected the legislation that would have amended the Constitution, that would have taken that right away. But what's happened? In the past 2 months or more, you've seen people become wishy-washy. Now, you know, the polling, I think, in independent women voters, likely voters who are independent and women, switched from plus 13 to minus 4 to plus 13 Democrat to plus 14 Republican in the span of 2 months or whatever. Like, what are you do? Oh, just because you have to pay a little more for gas, you're gonna ignore the fact that they're coming after all your freedoms? You're going to ignore the fact that Justice Thomas clearly stated that other things like Griswold, which guarantees the right of, I guess, married couples to get birth control pills. And then I think the other ruling, I forget the name of the other ruling, but that other ruling which enabled people to, everyone else to get birth control pills, that's just going to go the way of the dodo. Obersville v. Hodges, that's going to go. That's going to go away. If Justice Thomas has his way, you have these people who want to not just enforce these things via the courts, but they want to pass these things as a law. And don't make any mistake. People will cry and throw a hissy fit if the Democrats win 2 seats in the Senate and keep the House. And if they're able to pass, if the Senate is able to do away with the filibuster just so they can pass this legislation, and the Republicans are going to whine and cry about it because they finally killed the thing that they started killing years back. Make no mistake, if the Republicans got control of the House and the Senate and won the presidency in 2024, you better believe that they would use the nuclear option to eliminate the filibuster so that they could pass a nationwide ban on abortion. Because elections have consequences, and these are the consequences of electing Republicans to. But the other thing that just baffles me beyond anything else is that these people don't care. Like, I was having an argument with somebody who my wife knows, and I guess I know him through her, but just via Facebook. And he's FJB, let's go Brandon type, and he's fully on board the Trump train. And him and his friends are like, people are over it. People don't want to hear about January 6th anymore. I'm like, why? Why is that not important? To me, that would be the most important thing, that you have a group of people trying to overthrow the American government, to stop the will of the people, to just go into Congress and start killing people. And Donald Trump egged it on. And let me tell you, if it was Trump that won and Biden lost, and Biden and Democrats did what these January 6th Proud Boy idiots did, the Republicans would be calling for their heads, and rightly so. And I'd be sitting there alone, like, look, that's not allowed. You shouldn't do that. But we tend to be more consistent than they do. And like, you can't, like, one of the things that the person says was, I'm for the whole. I want everything to be whole. I'm like, you can't have everything be whole if people go unpunished for trying to do a coup. And look, I don't like high gasoline prices. I don't like the cost of goods going up because of various factors. Now, the blame as to how much goes on Trump versus how much goes on Biden versus how much goes on external factors that are irrelevant to who's president at the time, and we can discuss that all the time. And I think that conservatives downplay the other factors too much and overplay Biden's factor too much, and that's a whole other discussion to happen. But even if it was all Biden's fault that we had higher inflation, that we had that these gas prices were high, even if you could blame every single higher price on Joseph Robinette Biden, guess what? I'd still vote for him. Why? Because I'd rather make less money in my paycheck. I'd rather have less spending power in my bank account than have fascists take over our government. And everybody should circle around that idea and say, yes, that's true. I mean, these people would have been insufferable, whiny pains in the ass during World War II when they were told that they would have to sacrifice, that they couldn't have certain things that they wanted to have because you had to give up on it for the good of the war effort. These people would have been like, oh, well, just let Hitler make Germany great again. Let's not involve it. It's not touching us. It's not dealing us, so we shouldn't deal with it. And there were people back then who were like that. There were people who were American Nazis back then. Those are the original America First types who were, shouting the America First phrase. They were American Nazis. They were white supremacists, xenophobes who wanted to only look out for America and not look out for anybody else, especially people who might be, Jewish. They don't care. But all of these people would have been insufferable back then because they'd have been like, well, I don't want to support this war if it means that I can't buy another sarsaparilla, or if I can't go to the 5-cent show and watch me some Al Jolson on the movie screen, or watch one of these newfangled televisions that everyone's raving about. Like, they would absolutely be insufferable back then. And we wouldn't have won the war. Especially if we would have catered to them. And we're catering to them now, even though they're a minority, even though they represent the minority party. They are not the majority in this country. The numbers of votes prove that time and time again, and the only reason they win is because the deck is stacked in their favor. And then we all know that. So, Andrea, how are you doing, Andrea? I'm sad I didn't get to see you. I mean, when I was in Florida, unfortunately, I think you're probably still a little bit too far away for me to get there, even if we would have done a longer vacation than we would have normally done. But it was cool. I did get to meet Ken. That's one of the things from my vacation that was good. I did get to meet Ken. We had lunch together. That was fun. It was good to get to meet. Now that makes 2 people who I've met via Hal, who have met via my podcast, who I've been able to meet in person. And I hope that number becomes more and more and more. So, see, I will next time. I'm 2 hours from Ken. Okay, I mean, that's fine. And you were dealing with storm stuff, and I was surprised I was able to salvage the vacation as I was able to salvage it because, I don't know if I knew. I think Wednesday night it was tentatively on hold, but I thought I had found another room. But then Thursday they got canceled again, so I had to find an Airbnb. So I found an Airbnb the last minute, and it was great. It was a nice Airbnb. I think I got a steal for it. Granted, I wouldn't have to spend any additional money if I would have been able to spend the timeshare points. But as Donald says,
it is what it is.
Thank you, Donald. So yes, Kinky Streets. Did you know that the House of Representatives has 435 reps based on 1 per 30,000 Americans? Is actually in the Act of 1929. Yes, I did know that, and for some reason, if we wanted, I've advocated for this on the show. I did a show on this way back. I did the math. If you were to take like a Wyoming's worth of population and made that one congressional district, and then counted up like the districts in each state, be like, okay, California has X number of Wyoming's worth of population, rounding that number to the nearest Wyoming, you would have about 100 more seats in the House of Representatives than we do now, which would again make the Electoral College 635 instead of 535, or 638 instead of 538. So, and we technically, according to the Constitution sets the lower bound of how many representatives, how many people should be represented by each individual representative. So we could have more representatives if you wanted. And I would be all for that too. I'd be all for like making let's say Wyoming gets 5, and then whatever let's say you get one congressperson for every 100,000 voters. I think Wyoming's about 500, 600,000. But let's just say you get one congressperson for every 100,000 people, rounded to the nearest 100,000. Wyoming might get 5 or 6, and then you get California, which will get a lot more. What's the population of California? Let me check that again. Population. Population of California is 39.35 million. So, calc. Come on. Calc. And 35.35. Nope. That's not right. 35.350,000 divided by 100,000 equals, California would have 354 congressional representatives in Congress. So if that's the discrepancy. Now, let's say you just want to make it just for every Wyoming's worth, then you can just divide that by 5 as well, and you'd have about 70. I think it actually turns out to be 69. California would have 69 congressional seats instead of 53, because I think it's 55 electoral college votes, 2 of which senators, so it's 53. Instead of 53 seats and 55 electoral votes, California would have 69 seats and 71 electoral college votes. So yeah, and that would be a much more equitable way to attribute these things. But of course, in order to do that, you need to have the votes to do it. And that would weaken significantly the voices in the House, and would accurately represent the people of this country, because the House of Representatives is supposed to be the people's house. It's supposed to be the voice of the people, and the Senate is supposed to be the voices of the entire states as a whole. Now that's still, if you look at the how many, think whatchamacallit, Rhode Island and Virginia, I think, were the lowest and highest populations in the 1790 census. And I want to say that Virginia had 11 times the population, if I'm remembering this math correctly, than Rhode Island did. So the Founding Fathers, when they created the Senate, knew that there was a discrepancy in sizes of these states, but it was only like 11 times greater, as opposed to, again, California, which is like 69 times greater than Wyoming. Nice. So I don't know if the Founding Fathers, if they knew that we would have states that have such a discrepancy, I don't know if they would have come up with that solution for the Senate, for giving that equal say to those people, to the people in Wyoming, as opposed to the people in California. But one of the biggest things, yeah, Aaron, as we said last night on the gaming stream, 69 dudes. Anyway, so the other thing though that I support that nobody really talks about And that's maybe one of the things that I would love to have a project on at some point in the future. Maybe when the podcast gets bigger, maybe when I reach 1,000 subscribers. Please tell your friends to subscribe. I don't think I'm going to hit my October goal either, especially because Hal's not going to be on next week. I think he's traveling next week, so we may have to delay that for a week or two, depending on that. But Trump going to jail, that would be one thing. I have no control over Trump going to jail. But a lot of people are talking about that, and hopefully it happens because he should be locked up because of all of the stuff he's done, including what I predicted. But we'll get back to what I predicted in a second, because I support the idea we don't need. Used to be in the 1700s that these districts were big and you had to cross them by horse and carriage or just by horse or whatever. You didn't have great ways to traverse your district, so you had to have them. You had to have them be smaller, or not smaller, but you had to be able to have them so that the people can represent geographic areas. We now can get from one side of the country to the other very quickly, let alone one side of the state to another. We don't have those constraints that they had in the 1700s. I think congressional districts are an antiquated idea. I don't think we should have congressional districts. I think we should have slates of candidates. What's up, Demonox? How's it going? Thank you for joining. Demonox, the first Liberal Dan Radio patron. TV2, Dan, you should stream 3 nights a week. I do. It's just 2 nights a week are on Twitch, and I'm gaming. But I'm more than happy to talk politics. Twitch.tv/nerdydan.com if you want to support the Twitch channel as well. I'm also nerdydan.com here on YouTube as well if you want to support that channel too. That channel only has about 100 subs right now because on YouTube I'm more focusing on this. Although I think I'm working. I don't know if I'm making more money yet on Twitch, but I am an affiliate on Twitch. So I can get cheers and I can get subscriptions. And I figured out how to subscribe to myself. Yeah. Because I have a Liberal Dan Radio Twitch account, and I have a nerdydan.com Twitch account, and I used my Google surveys money to pay for a subscription to nerdydan.com from Liberal Dan, the Liberal Dan Radio account. So I worked the system. Oh, good, the porn site's back. Look at the porn site coming back. Lols. So the horse was the first one to travel and should be respected as that. Yeah, absolutely. And the congressional district is one of the forms of representation, but we now use cars and trains and planes and all the other good stuff to get it around, and we shouldn't need the congressional districts anymore. So however many congressional seats a particular state has, you should just have that many. You should be able to run slates of candidates. So the Democratic Party wants to put up 55 people to run for office in the state of California. Then however they choose to pick the people that are running in that slate, they do. And then however many votes worth of people vote for that slate, the top people get those seats. So like Louisiana, but easier example, 6 seats. So let's say the Democratic Party wanted to run 6 people here. You run 6 people, and you decide within the party by a primary who is the top, who's the second, who's the third, etc. Then you can go ahead and vote for that. Let's say you wanted to have a Democrats from New Orleans. Let's say those people felt there were some geographical benefits to having New Orleans representation. And so the people who felt that way would all vote and get together and maybe vote for that slate. Maybe that slate gets 1. Maybe that slate gets 2. Who knows? Maybe somebody from Shreveport likes the people from New Orleans and wants that slate to get more votes. So that person would vote for that slate instead of any other slates. I think if that happened in Louisiana specifically, what you would get is you would have a Democratic Party slate. That slate would run and would get 2 candidates. You would have like a centrist Democrat slate that would run, and that one would get 1 seat, 1 Democrat. Then you would have like a MAGA slate, and they would get the rest of the other 3. So instead of being 5-1, you'd have 3-3, which is why the Republicans would never go for it, because it would take away their gerrymandering advantage. Of course, the Senate is naturally gerrymandered, which is weird. So let's see. We don't need count yet. Exactly. Demographics, we don't need counties, but we don't even need districts. No drawing lines of districts, just slates of candidates, and that's what I would love to implement. That. What was the other thing I was going to talk about? It was something Donald Trump related. I should have talked about it. I should have talked about it when I knew it instead of rolling back. Somebody can remember what I was kind of talking about. I don't know. Something else Trump related in the news. I don't know. Let's see. You say population up 50% since 1970. Government is antiquated. Yes, everything is antiquated. But the people who benefit from our antiquated form of government, shockingly, are the conservatives who won't do anything about it and who will fight tooth and nail, kicking and screaming, and never allow us to be able to change, to allow the people to have the votes that they're supposed and to have the representation that they're supposed to have. Yes, there you go. Thank you, Diane. I predicted it. That's what I was going to say. I predicted it. The other news about Donald Trump was that back before Donald Trump, either before he won or before he took office, I think Donald Trump said something on Twitter where he basically said that he was going to turn Washington upside down or something. And I said the only reason that he's going to turn Washington upside down so we could shake it and get all of the money out of it that he could possibly have, like a couch, getting all the spare change from a couch. And I said, when we finally see how much money the federal government was spending at Mar-a-Lago, at Bedminster, at the Scotland resort, and all the other resorts that he diverted to, we would find out that he was a grifter, even more of a grifter than we already knew, and we would find out that his "I'm not taking a salary" thing was full of bunk, because he wasn't taking a salary, but he was funneling money into his own companies from the federal government. Didn't matter that he donated his thing to charity. He would be funneling. And what happened? What did we find out today? That instead of charging like $200-300 like Eric Trump said that we would, instead of paying the lower rack rate or whatever, we were paying like $1,200 per hotel room. Donald Trump managed to funnel at least $1.6, I believe, million of federal dollars from the federal government to his companies. Now, I don't know exactly how much of that he keeps or not, but I mean, that's pretty much his salary. I think if you're $400,000, if you're the president, what's the president's salary? Presidential salary, 2022. Boom, $400,000 is what I said. And there is a $50,000 expense account, which is not taxed, apparently. I didn't know about the $50,000 expense account. Maybe it's to handle things like that you have to do, but except he has Air Force One, so who knows what the expense account is for. I don't know. But Trump money to resorts. Let's see. Boom. Let's see. This is back in 2020. May 23rd, 2022, Secret Service spent nearly $2 million at Trump properties. So $2 million, according, this is May. This is not October. So there was a lot of money that went from the federal government to himself. And I hate all the times that I can say that I'm right. But this is another thing that I predicted that came true. Donald Trump misled his people, misled his supporters. They don't care. They won't care. They'll be like, oh, that's just smart business. Just like they excused his bankruptcies and excused his refusing to pay the people who worked for him as contractors, and then saying, look, you can either sue me or take this lower amount that's less than what we agreed to in our contract. You know, that's just being a smart business person, according to them. So I guess to him, this is just him being a smart business person too, except it's just him being a grifter, him being a fraud, a con artist. But they won't care. But maybe enough people might care, because how many things have to come up in order for people to be like, you know what, maybe we're going to give up on this guy. There are people who will be Trump or die, and they will ride him till they can't ride anything anymore. They only support him. They won't support anybody else. Or maybe they'll support Trump Gabbard or whatever in 2024. Maybe that's Gabbard's play or whatever. But anyway, I predicted it, and it happened, and it came true. And I wish that my being right about things would convert into me being able to get monetized here on YouTube, because that hasn't happened yet. It'll happen eventually. I know it'll happen eventually, because y'all are awesome. Y'all continue to support me, and we continue to grow. Even though it's slower than I might like, I appreciate the quality of listener over the quantity any day. I could easily go and buy viewers or something and to try and get up to whatever it is. I think we'll get there organically someday, and it'll be all because of y'all, and I appreciate y'all for doing that. Final thing, let's see. Biden stopped what? Let's see. Hold on. Let's just go back through the chat just to catch up. Trump is still gouging taxpayers. Well, yeah, because the Secret Service is staying at his hotel, so he's still going to charge the Secret Service for staying at the hotel. Let's see. Nearly impossible. I'm sorry I missed you. Let's see. I didn't think Ivanka took a salary, but Ivanka also got Trump to shill for her business to get at business in China or whatever. Doesn't Trump still get presidential briefings? I don't know if he does. He shouldn't, because he's proven himself untrustworthy, but we'll see. Let's see. When they find the missing money, Trump will say the FBI planted it. Yeah. The FBI was the ones who charged the Secret Service. It wasn't me. He's just Shaggy. It wasn't me. But you caught you being a grifter? Wasn't me. Let's see. Eric Line said to stay for $50. I don't know if he said $50, but he did say it was much less than what it turns out to be. So, let's see. He whined at his rallies that he didn't get any recognition for donating the salary, so he finally stopped. My lord, what a baby. Yeah, he didn't get a recognition for it, because he shouldn't have gotten recognition, because anybody with 2 set of eyes and 3 working brain cells could be able to see that this is what he was doing, that he was faking this whole, I'm such a good person for not taking a salary, yet I'm going to funnel all of this money into my resorts. And that's the end of it. Trump didn't get intelligence briefings while he might have been around when they were read. He might not have gotten them in that he didn't understand them. That's always sure. $50 for maid service. Okay. I think I heard him say other things too, but then again, you'll never get a straight story from a Trump. It's as simple as that. They will tell you one person one thing, a next person the next thing, and his supporters won't care. The final thing I did want to mention briefly is that, last year, me and the Nimbus Yosh, the smooth sounds of the Percy podcast, both me and Yosh have been dealing with an idiot who I had to go and try and get a temporary restraining order against, or a temporary protection order some point last year, because of his refusal to just leave me the F alone. And I got the temporary restraining order. Unfortunately, I was too principled, because his attorney in the middle of the proceedings was like, you know what? How about you both sign a permanent civil injunction against each other, where each of you is prohibited from contacting the other person, from talking about it, whatever. Each person would be prohibited from doing that, and it'll last for life. And I rejected this out of hand because A, I thought I had the case to make. I thought I would get my restraining order, A, not just a civil injunction, and B, I was too principled on the thing. I didn't want to I didn't think that I should have had to sign anything in order to get him to start behaving, because he was the one misbehaving. I wanted to be left alone. Well, about 6 months after the temporary civil, the person put into place a 6-month civil injunction. I'm like, well, what good is that? So let's say he's good for 6 months. So if the levees protected Louisiana for 6 years, do we say, oh well, we don't need the levees anymore? They haven't flooded. The river hasn't flooded us since then. So the last 6 years, so we don't need the levees anymore. No, the reason the river hasn't flooded New Orleans is because we have the levees, and removing the levees would stop that protection. So why would you only make this thing temporary? I don't know. Again, I didn't have a lawyer with me. That was my stupid self or whatever, or I should have taken the deal. But now he's lashed out again, and he's been an idiot. And unfortunately, I'm not willing to pay the $2,500 at this point to deal with him. But he name dropped me again on Twitter, and he's just a big old douchebag, which is very similar to what his Twitter account is. And you know what? I've give zero F's anymore about the dude. I will talk about him when I want to, and I will talk trash about the hypocrisy of the dude when I want to, and if he doesn't like it, he can come to the table. It's as simple as that. Until then, I'll talk whatever shit I feel like talking about, and if he doesn't like it, again, he can come to the table, and we can make an agreement. Because if he can't stop talking smack about me, why should I stop talking? I mean, I don't refrain from talking smack about people who are politicians, do I? Nope. So I feel like, you know what? I just don't care. And that might very well be a little bit of a spoiler for what the first episode of the Percy podcast might be for the next season of the Smooth Sounds of the Percy podcast. He may very well be talking about that. I don't know. Might happen, might not happen. But anyway. Let's see. Trump just has to think security clearance, and he has it. He's got mind powers that are more powerful than the law. Yeah. I did it. I thought it was, I just thought, boom, it's all a limit. It's all declassified. Who needs proof? I don't need proof. I just did it. Let's see. I don't want to know about Trump's brief either. Aaron, I don't know anything. Oh, sure. Let's see. Dan talks smack. I don't see it. No, I was trying to take the high road. I literally was trying to take the high road. And I try to take the high road in a lot of cases. I do try. Like, you've seen it on this show. When I've had conservatives call in before, I've had rational and reasonable conversations with people who I disagree with. I don't have to fight with everybody simply just because we disagree. But I've for the last 2 years or so, almost now, I've basically said, look, I'm just not gonna I'm not gonna be that guy. I'm just gonna try and ignore him, but he's gonna keep talking smack. So whatever, it is what it is. Let's see. Demonox with the Bayonetta stuff, Saints Row, and the horrible ending to She-Hulk. I kind of disagree with that, but that's fine. Nobody has to agree on everything. I don't agree with everything that Demonox says. I happen to enjoy the last episode of She-Hulk, but Kimchi, Aaron, you know how to make spanking sound fun. Wait, where was spanking? Did I miss a conversation about spanking? How did I miss the spanking comment? I don't know. Damn it. Anyway. So, nice. New patron for Demonox as well. That's awesome. Support Demonox as well. Support Demonox, support Yosh, support me, support, And one of the things I would probably do if I was able to get the whole Grow Left thing going, Grow Left at liberaldan.com, if I was able to get that going, some of that money might actually go to advertise on the Demonox's show, on Nimbus Yosh's show, and others smaller, again, podcasters who need the boost. And that's what I really want to do with this thing, but that's not taking off either. But whatever. It'll happen eventually. We'll see. Anyway. So again, I have to go take care of my puppy. So I'm going to have to call this the end of this week's episode of Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left. That's right. Let me go find the show ending music. Blah, blah, blah. Where are we? There we go. Show end. Again, Hal won't be on next week. I was looking forward to calling the show Halloween. I'll have to find a different pun for the next time he comes on. I will be back again next week, 8 p.m. Central. If you want to follow me, if you want to come nerd out with me, 10 p.m. Central on Tuesdays and Thursdays until my puppy gets a little older and can be able to handle being by herself for a little longer than that, and be able to, have a better schedule. Again, and then I'm probably going to post a couple of videos on both channels as well, so join me there as well. Those places. Share my videos, subscribe to the channel if you haven't, get other people to subscribe as well. Maybe I'll hit 1,000 here one day. Then if you have Amazon Prime, you can also subscribe to me for no additional cost every month on twitch.com/NerdDan, twitch.tv/NerdDan.com. Until next week, Dan Zimmerman, Liberal Dan Radio. Talk from the left, that's right.